Today, as we come here, we are not only coming to commemorate our foreign comrades of the 2013 shipwreck. We are here to remember the regular deaths which have been happening on the Mediterranean. The people who have drowned, the 25,000 people who have lost their lives in the last 5 years, and the many more who have fallen, who have been victimized by border externalization. Please, may we have 1 minute silence for these people. Thank you. When the shipwreck occurred in 2013, I remember very well all those headlines. I was in my country. I was a 15-year-old high school student, entitled to all the privileges, living in my country, South Sudan, 2 years after we got our independence from the Northern Sudan. I was a 15-year-old child who knew war, but I never knew how it feels, what it means to leave home and then go to take on the Mediterranean deadly route, trying to cross the border. I read the news. I had no idea that only 2 months later, my country could turn into chaos. My country could turn into a bloodshed regime. My country could take millions of lives and send millions to exile. I never knew. I had no clue that someday, 5 years later, I would end up in Libya. Today, the people who lost their lives, we are trying to look back at them. What happened in 2013 and prior before that, what forced them. We are understanding that there were circumstances beyond their human endurance, that they had to leave home, that they had to flee for all the way from Eritrea, from forced conscription, from a regime that doesn't support education but military. We look back to the people who drowned, who were Somalians, who were fleeing from the Daesh in Somalia, people who were already full of destruction, people who were fed up and they wanted to see another day. They came to Libya, and at that very time in 2013, we are taking a look back. After the destruction, after the situation in Libya was destabilized in 2011, 2 years later, there was a still ongoing war. Libya was in chaos. Libya was in a troubling challenge. Benghazi at that time was fighting. The people who had come to work and live in Libya during the Gaddafi era lost everything that they had. They lost access to their social rights. They lost access to protect their fundamental human rights. They lost access to protect their own lives. They were living in precarious conditions. When Libya fell, they became victims. They became an easy target for the Libyan mafia. The people who were in Libya at that time in 2013, why did they want to flee? They couldn't go back to Somalia. They couldn't go back to Eritrea. They couldn't stay also in Libya because they had lost everything they had. Whatever resources that they were able to gather in those years during the Gaddafi era, when there was war and that it broke out, they lost everything. Therefore, they could not withstand. They could not bear. They took on to the Deadly Sea. They took on to the Mediterranean to seek safety, only to arrive to Lampedusa, to have their boat capsized. More than 368 lives. A person like me lost their life that day. They had very simple ambition. They had very simple will to exist. They were people. They were humans. They had their stories to tell. They were parents. Among them were minors, children, who had no idea what is it to be born into a war regime. What is it to be born in Somalia? What is it to be born in South Sudan, in Darfur? What is it to be born in a country where there is only poverty? And then the ambition, their will to work hard to achieve greatness and happiness for themselves. However, they were denied. They were not seen as humans. In Libya, they were not people. Even trying to flee, they lost their life. After that, we thought it was an eye-opening for the European Union, for the European member states to take actions, to take heed of the situation which was constantly happening on the Mediterranean, to avoid the days of life, to avoid the loss of life as a result of politics. But this did not happen. Instead, Europe and its member state continued to finance these brutal activities. They continued to finance violence in Libya. Thousands of people, thousands of children, women who have been raped, their voice have been silenced. Constantly, they have not been seen as humans. Why? The European consciousness, how have it been able to withstand all these years? 9 years of violence, 9 years of border brutality, border externalization, from Libya to Egypt, Egypt to Morocco, to all the Greater Sahel. The European citizens, how have you been able to accept your politicians doing this at the external border of Europe? Is this the fortress Europe that we have learned about? The fortress Europe that we have heard about? I try to look back at those years when I knew nothing but only war. I knew nothing but only to be called a refugee in my own country. But I had no idea that at a certain point, I would not endure. I would not be able to bear but to leave my own country, to go to Libya, to arrive in Libya, and then face the same situation. I had not foreseen that one day, getting old, I could get stuck in Libya, I could be humiliated, I could be forced to work as a slave, I could be forcibly conscripted into the Libyan army, that I could be seen as an easy source of income. But unfortunately, that day arrived, all thanks to the European member states that have been contributing to this violence, that have been contributing to this brutality, that have been contributing to these killings. thanks to the European citizens that have been able to accept this, that have been able to normalize the financing of the so-called Libyan Coast Guard for the past 5 years. Thanks to the European citizens who have been able to exclude themselves from politics. Thanks to all the people who have contributed to these deaths. But justice is coming. History will continue to tell. We will continue to denounce this. Today, as we remember our foreign brothers and sisters, those who have died while trying to reach Libya in the Libyan desert, those who have died in the concentration camps in Libya, those who have died under torture from traffickers, those who have died during forced conscription, those who have died in Libya as a result of hard labor, those who have died while trying to reach the European shores, and they were pushed back, they were left alone at sea, they died. And when pushed back to the Libyan concentration camps, they lost their lives. Today we remember them, and we take from this as a great hope, with great courage, to devote ourselves to fight this criminality, to fight this border brutality, to fight this border externalization, to break the border, to give safe passage to people who seek protection. Today we will continue. We are dedicated. We will devote ourselves. We are able to see that a day is coming where humanity will continue to embrace, to put aside politics, and then to value each and every human life. Our living conditions in Libya, we have touched these stories. These worst experiences have been documented. Journalists have been able to come to Libya to document, to witness, and then portray it to the global public. The rape of women, the lack of protection that people have in Libya, those who have fled civil wars in countries of origin, persecution, religious indifferences, arriving to Libya only to be met with this brutality. It is not that these stories have been told, but why is there no change? Why are people still left to die on the Mediterranean? The same government in Europe, which is financing the illegal activities in Libya, have the power to empower the unbearable circumstances in Africa, the situation which forces people to migrate. Why are these millions of money given to authoritarian militia, to authoritarian mafia, and bloodshed regime in Libya? Why are all these millions of money not given to help build schools in Senegal, in African countries that lack all these opportunities? Growing up in Africa, having to consequently lack opportunities to educate ourselves, to nourish ourselves, to speak for ourselves, and be who we are. Even when trying to free from all these indifferences, we are rejected. We are seen as invaders. We are not seen as humans. We are entrapped in the middle of violence, in the middle of politics, which we have to pay the price. We are questioning, why are you, the people who have lived all these experiences, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, elders, little ones, who have lived in Libya, who have traveled through Libya, arrived to Europe, to the Western society, why have you been able to stay silent about all this humiliation that each of you had to endure, that your mother had to endure, that your pregnant wife had to endure, had rebel, that she could not access health care in Libya because of her color, because she is seen only as a mere immigrant. She is not seen as a human being because she is only seen as an easy source of income, something very easy to be used as a sex slave. Sexual exploitation, which have been happening in Libya. Brothers and sisters, why are we not able to come together to denounce this, to comfort the authorities, starting from Libya, in our countries of origin? We must stand up. We must speak for ourselves. I ask each of you who have all these lived experiences and all those who have the power of imagination to imagine being in such circumstance, being hindered from accessing your fundamental human rights, and then join hands together to fight, to denounce the Italian and Libyan memorandum. We ask your attention. We ask you to help give voice to those who have been consequently silenced, who have been deliberately silenced from time to time. We ask you to stand together to demand justice for our foreign comrades who have died as a result to a designed mechanism that was designed, that have been designed, that is still designed to kill the people trying to access safety, the people who are accessing safety, who are requesting to be recognized, to be seen as human beings. Dear brothers and sisters, if you are in Europe today, if you're in the West, you are in America, you are black, you are white, you are Asian, whatever you are a human being. You have the value, you have all this capability to speak and to denounce. We count on you today. We cannot continue to be silenced when thousands of people, thousands of souls, whose intentions, whose ambitions is and are just a strong will to exist in a peaceful circumstance, in a peaceful environment where they can work for themselves. We, the people who have taken the route of Mediterranea, have been seen as criminals. We, the people who have chosen to become refugees, have been seen as weak people. But mind you, we are not weak. We are able, we are capable people when given the chance, when given a peaceful environment where we can coexist. We have the ability to read books, to study, to become entrepreneurs, to become doctors, to become pilots, to become whatever, to become a contributing member into a society. What can we do? How are you able, my dear brother? How are you able, my dear sister? How are you able, my dear father? How are you able, my dear mother, to stay silent, to keep watching, to stare at all these nightmares happening on the Mediterranean, and then yet you are silent? You are ignorant of the situation. You are not able to question your authorities, your respective members that you elect into the government institutions. We call for a change. We call for a hand of solidarity to denounce the ill treatment that people are put to go through. How we are dehumanized in every aspect, in every single word. People of color who are dehumanized, who are neglected, who are not seen as humans. Let's stand up. We ask you, we ask your consciousness to revise this, to imagine, because today it's only imagination that we share together. It's only the power of imagination that we have in common. Otherwise, we all know that you have your luxurious super life down there. You have the time to dine together with your loved one on the table, to have dinner, to have lunch, to have Christmas, to celebrate together with the people you love. unlike for people like me, unlike for people who have lost their lives on the Mediterranean, unlike for the people who have tried to reach the European borders tens of times, but they were pushed back using violence. There were people who were forced by circumstance beyond their human endurance. There were people who did not choose to leave their families, but given the circumstance, given the situation that they had to live in, they had to leave. They had to say a very sad goodbye, not knowing when to return to their countries of origin. We, the people, did not choose to leave our homes until our homes became violent, until our homes became an enemy, until our homes were not able to shelter us anymore. Therefore, we left from to another country, trying to find a peaceful environment where we could coexist without being questioned, where are you coming from? Without being questioned, what is your religion? Without being questioned, what is your political affiliation? Without being questioned, what capabilities do you have? What qualities? What is your educational background? We wanted to exist. We still have the will to continue. We want to exist. We want to coexist in a society that is not violent, in a society that is very welcoming, in a society that doesn't look at indifferences in people, in a society that values human life. We are suffering. We have been silenced for so many years, but not anymore. We have chosen to rise up. We have chosen to stand up for ourselves and speak for ourselves. But without you, without your solidarity, we cannot go too far. We cannot go too far. We ask you to stand in solidarity, to give voice to those, to your neighbors. We are full of this. We are full of this. We cannot take it anymore. Dear brothers, I continue to call on you. Those who are in the West, those who are in Europe, those who are in Asia, those who are in safe circumstances, in safer environments, those who have the privilege to sleep without the fear of being shot at, those who have the privilege to access quality education, those of you who have the privilege to go to access health care without being questioned, where are you from? Those of you who have the privilege to work and have your salaries paid, to have a minimum wage where you can survive and live and support your family, we are calling on you to help give a voice to those of us who have been consequently silenced. We continue to repeat these words. We have been consequently and deliberately silenced for so many years. We are full of this. How can we continue to live with this? How can we continue to endure when it's already here? When we are drowning in chaos, when we are drowning in violence, when we are drowning, when Europe is living and surviving by our blood, how can we accept it? How does the European citizens, how does the European civilians accept the fact that they are contributing to the deaths on Mediterranean, to the deaths in the Libyan Sahel, to the deaths in the Libyan concentration camp? They are contributing to the rape of a woman. They are contributing to the loss of life, to a child whose crime is only trying to reach safety, to find shelter for himself. How does the European citizen accept this? How does the African Union, where does the reticence come about? Our dear African leaders, why have you abandoned us? Why are you forsaking us? We question this every single day. We question this every single morning when we wake up and we don't have a safe street to stand and live in and work in. We question this every night when we go to bed with the hungry tummies. We question this every day when we go to dinner without our family members. We question this every day when we miss our homeland, when we cannot go back to the countries of origin, in a society where we were brought up, in a society where we grew up, where we have beautiful memories together with our people, with our school, with our environment. We question this every day. Our African leaders, why do you not value our life? Why do you keep the silence when we are being killed by the European politics? When all these have negative impact, when all these have been brought about to manipulate the African leaders, why have you chosen to abandon us? We are full of this. Today we call for the freedom of all refugees, for all the freedom seekers, for all the protection seekers. We call for them to be recognized. The people in West Africa, the people in East Africa, the people in North Africa, the people in Central Africa who have rich surroundings. Only if there is peace, they could coexist without thinking to move, to migrate to Europe, to venture, to take all these deadly routes. Please, be our voice. We continue to ask. We will repeat this day and night. We need a voice. We are here denouncing all this ill treatment. Please support us. Please give us a solidarity. Please give us your voice. Lend us your time. Lend us your time, your courage. Wherever you are today, in Asia, in America, in Europe, in Africa, be the voice of this neglected community, neglected minority, people who have been chased away by destruction. Will you please be their voice? Will you please be our voice? Will you please demand freedom for everybody? Will you please say that every life matters? Will you please say the life of our daughters around the world matters? The life of our brothers, of our children, of our elderly disabled people matters? We continue to count on you. We are already full of this, but we will not give up until there is a change, until our voices are listened to, until there is justice for the people who regularly have to drown on the Mediterranean, until there is justice for the people who have lost their lives while in the Libyan concentration camps, until the Libyan mafia are held accountable, until Muhammad al-Khoja is held accountable, until Abdurrahman Milad al-Bija is held accountable before the International Criminal Court, until the people fighting and killing people in Libya who just want to exist are held accountable. We will not quit until the UNHCR in Libya is treating us with equal rights, until the UNHCR in Libya is able to tell the international community that Libya is not safe. We will not quit. We will not keep silence until the situations in our countries of origin are better, until the wars in our countries of origin come to an end. We will continue to denounce violence, whatever it is. This is no longer a dream. It's a reality to experience. It's a reality to talk about. It's a reality to value. We are full of this. If there are questions, dear brothers, those who are here, you're welcome. If there are questions, if there is anyone, the friends who are on Facebook, the brothers, if you have anything to say, please join. Speak your mind. Speak what you feel. Speak how you felt being dehumanized, being humiliated while in Libya. Speak what is your condition. Even after surviving the horrors in Libya, arriving to Europe, only to be treated as an economic immigrant, only to be met with bureaucratic issues where you cannot access all your fundamental human rights, where you have been seen as a criminal for only trying to survive, for only trying to exist, for only trying to leave Libya using the deadly Mediterranean Sea. Speak your mind. Speak wherever you are. Tell how you felt. Tell me, how do you feel? Are you proud of who you are? To keep silent about these horrors, about this circle of violence that we experience every day as a result of racism? Tell us. Speak to the world. How do you feel? How are you able? How are you able to sleep over and forget? Once again, we are here to remember our brothers who lost their lives in 2013 and those before that, and those who followed, thousands more who have died in Libya, in the Libyan desert, in the Libyan concentration camp, at war fronts in Libya when they were forcibly conscripted, the people who have been forcibly referred back to Libya under gunpoint, and therefore they lost their life. The people who have drowned when they were abandoned on the Mediterranean by the European member states. We continue to remember them. We continue to take this as a source of hope, as a source of courage to fight for a better tomorrow, to fight for a change. Thank you. Thank you. I will end the broadcast. If you have questions, if you have something you want to say, please request to join and speak to your brothers and sisters. Speak to the world.